You are not here to beg life for crumbs. You are not born to chase what already belongs to you. You are here to remember who you are and to step into the fullness of that truth. Not tomorrow, not one day, but now. There is a great secret hidden in plain sight, one that the world overlooks as it keeps chasing, struggling, yearning. And yet this secret has always been simple. Act as if you already have everything. That is the doorway, that is the power, that is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Everything in your life is responding not to what you wish were true, but to what you assume is already true. When you walk as if you are loved, the world will mirror love back to you. When you speak as if abundance flows through you, the gates of provision will open. When you breathe as if peace lives within you, the storms outside will lose their power. The key is not in effort, but in assumption, not in struggle, but in inner knowing. The world outside is but a shadow of the world within, and to change it, you do not wrestle with it. You rest in your knowing of what already is. People think they must wait until the evidence shows up before they feel the joy. But the truth is that the joy must show up before the evidence. That is the divine reversal, the higher law. The joy is not a reaction, it is the cause. You do not wait to see your life improve to believe that it has. You believe it first, feel it deeply, and act from that knowing, and then, only then, does the evidence obediently appear to match your state. The world rearranges itself around your inner conviction. What would change today if you stopped asking, how will this happen, and started declaring, it already has? Would your posture change? Would your tone soften with peace? Would you treat others differently because you're no longer trying to earn what is already yours? Would you stop comparing yourself to those around you because you no longer feel behind? The one who assumes their desire is already fulfilled walks differently. They radiate. They don't grasp. They attract. Because they are not trying to become, they are being. Most people live in a constant rehearsal of lack. They rehearse disappointment. They wake up and recite limitations in their mind like daily affirmations of struggle. But what if instead you rehearse success? What if your inner dialogue shifted to match the life you claim to want? What if your imagination was no longer a place of fantasy but the workshop of creation? When you act as if you already have everything, you collapse the distance between yourself and your desire. You are no longer preparing for it, you are it. The mind will argue. It will say, but it's not real yet, I don't see it. That's because you've been trained to see with your eyes first instead of your spirit. But sight follows belief. The invisible shapes the visible, not the other way around. When you step into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, when you embody that reality in your tone, your movements, your habits, you become a magnet to all that belongs to that state. You are no longer a seeker. You are a vessel. No striving, just receiving. This is not about pretending in a superficial sense. It is about embodying deeply. It is not fantasy, it is faith. Faith is assuming that which is unseen is already yours and acting accordingly. The world may not understand this. It will say, be realistic. But your spirit knows a higher truth. What the world calls delusion, faith calls vision. And vision is not waiting for evidence. Vision creates it. So walk into the room like the deal is already done. Speak like you already know the outcome. Give thanks before the miracle shows up. Because gratitude is not the result, it is the activator. Feel it now, be it now, assume it now. That is not arrogance, that is alignment. You do not ask the sun to shine, it shines because that is its nature. You do not plead with the ocean to wave, it moves because it was made to. And you were made to manifest the unseen into form. You already have everything. The only delay is your belief that you do not. The only distance is the illusion of time. The moment you act from the end, the beginning bends to meet it. The moment you accept your inheritance in spirit, Life rushes to deliver it in matter. There is nothing more to chase. It is all within you now. Walk in it, speak from it, live as if, and soon you will never have to act again. You will simply be. Assumption is the great creative force that silently governs every experience in your life. What you assume to be true, whether consciously or unconsciously, becomes the framework through which your reality unfolds. Most people spend their days trying to fix the outer world, reacting to conditions, adjusting circumstances, seeking answers through effort and control. But what if the answer was never outside you? What if the power to change your life rested not in your actions, but in your assumptions? Those quiet, repeated beliefs that sit beneath your thoughts and shape the lens through which you see everything. To assume something is not merely to wish for it or to entertain it casually in your mind. It is to accept it as already true. It is to make it so real in your inner world that it begins to alter your behavior, your speech, your feelings, and your choices. You act from the place of its truth, not toward it. That is the difference between desiring something and assuming it. Desire often emphasizes the absence. It says, I want this, and in doing so declares, I don't yet have it. Assumption does the opposite. It says, it is mine, and begins to live accordingly. That is the secret. That is the point where imagination becomes creation. When you assume you are wealthy, you stop worrying about money. When you assume you are loved, you stop chasing approval. When you assume you are healthy, your body begins to respond in kind. You don't force these changes, you flow into them because your mind has already accepted a new identity. And because your mind is the seedbed of reality, that identity must bear fruit in the world around you. This is why some people seem to attract opportunities effortlessly. It is not because they are luckier, smarter, or more qualified. It is because they assume they belong in those places of success. They walk with a certainty that doesn't come from what they see, it comes from what they believe. Their assumption becomes their atmosphere. It influences the tone of their voice, the energy of their presence, the clarity of their decision. People around them feel that certainty, and the world opens its doors accordingly. The same principle applies no matter the circumstance. Whether you're trying to improve your finances, mend a relationship, heal your body, or find your purpose, the beginning is not in what you do, but in what you assume. Every action is born from a state of mind. If you act from a place of desperation, your efforts will carry that energy. If you act from a place of fulfillment, even small steps will multiply with ease. The soil matters more than the seed. The state from which you act matters more than the act itself. You cannot trick assumption. You cannot simply recite affirmations while secretly doubting their truth. The universe is not fooled by words. It responds to the feeling behind them. To truly assume something, you must feel it. You must see yourself living it, breathing it, embodying it in your mind until it feels more real than your current surroundings. It is not delusion, it is creation. It is the blueprint of manifestation. When the inner world is vividly shaped, the outer world must mirror it. This is not philosophy, this is spiritual law. Children understand this better than adults. A child pretending to be a superhero does not merely wish he were one, he is one. In his mind, he flies, he rescues, he saves the day. He does not need evidence, his assumption is enough. That is the purity of imagination, that is the power of acting as if. Somewhere along the way, we were taught to abandon that power. We were told to be realistic, to wait for facts, to accept limitation as wisdom. But reality is not fixed. It is flexible, shaped daily by the assumptions we hold and the states we inhabit. If you could trace every breakthrough in your life back to its source, you would find a moment where something within you shifted. A belief changed. A new assumption took root. Perhaps it happened quietly, like a whisper of knowing. Perhaps it came suddenly, like a light turning on. But once you assumed a different truth, your actions began to match it and life responded. You didn't need permission. You didn't need perfect timing. You needed only to believe differently. The person who assumes success becomes a success long before anyone else began to bend. The person who assumes love radiates it before it arrives. The person who assumes healing walks in peace even while symptoms linger. Assumption is not the end result. It is the starting place. When you begin with the end in mind, life begins to fill in the blanks. What was once a hope becomes a pattern. What was once a vision becomes a path. Most people ask, what should I do? But the better question is, who must I assume myself to be? Because when you change that identity in your mind, the doing flows naturally. You stop trying to earn your future and start living it now. That is the mystery. You don't become your future, you return to it. You remember who you really are. You step back into the version of you that was always waiting to be realized. To assume is to claim. It is to rest in the knowing that what you seek is already yours. You no longer reach outward, you draw inward. You no longer chase, you align. And once aligned, you attract not through force but through faith. Life does not give you what you plead for, it gives you what you prepare for. An assumption is preparation in its highest form. It is spiritual certainty before physical proof. It is the language of the soul that says, I am, not I will be. And when you speak in that language, all of creation listens. There is a sacred doorway within you that few have been taught to walk through, though it has been open all along. It is the doorway of feeling, pure, vivid, undeniable emotion. This is not the fleeting surface emotion of reacting to what is happening around you. This is the deep, inner current of feeling that precedes the event, that actually causes it to take form. What the world sees as the result, this inner feeling knows as the origin. Feeling is the secret force that unlocks the unseen and makes it real. Without it, thoughts remain dormant. Words fall flat, actions are mechanical. But when infused with feeling, people are so often trained to dismiss feeling. Becomes a seed that grows into form. They are told. Be practical, but it is not reason that moves mountains. It is belief. It is not logic that changes lives. It is conviction. The universe does not respond to cold, mechanical repetition. It responds to warmth, to passion, to the emotional certainty that something is already true. To feel something as real before it becomes visible is the highest form of faith. It is the energy that bridges the gap between the imagined and the experience. Everything you have ever manifested, whether wanted or unwanted, has arrived in your life by the way you felt about yourself, about others, about life. The deeper, more consistent the feeling, the faster it came. If you felt unworthy, unlovable, or abandoned, you saw the world mirror those beliefs back to you, often in painful ways. And if you ever tasted moments of joy, breakthrough, sudden peace, or success, they too were reflections of a moment, sometimes fleeting, where you allowed yourself to feel as if it were already yours. The feeling came first, it always does. When you understand this, you no longer wait for life to give you a reason to feel good. You give yourself the permission to feel good now. You begin to understand that to feel wealthy is more powerful than any dollar in your hand. To feel loved is more transformative than hearing the words. To feel whole is more healing than any remedy the world could offer. And when those feelings become your dwelling place, not just a fleeting visit, they become magnets. What you feel consistently, you draw near. That is the law. It is not enough to visualize something once and forget it. The image must be felt. It must move you, shape you, enter your body like a living experience. If you were to close your eyes and imagine walking into the life of your dreams, not observing it from afar, but actually living in it, you would notice something shift inside you. Your shoulders would relax. Your breath would deepen. Your heart would beat differently. Why? Because your nervous system doesn't distinguish between the vividly imagined and the physically real. If you feel it, your body registers it. And if your body registers it, your actions change. If your actions change, your reality must follow. Feeling creates momentum. It takes a single idea and breathes life into it. A person who merely thinks of their dream may dabble here and there, take a few steps, and then give up when obstacles appear. But a person who feels their dream with certainty walks with a different energy. They don't seek validation, they carry it. They don't ask, is this possible? They declare, this is mine. And that feeling draws to them the people, places, and opportunities that match it. They become a match for what they desire, not by force, but by feeling. This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual alignment. When you step into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you activate the very power that created the universe. You no longer need to know how the pieces will come together. You trust that they will, because you already feel what it's like to have them. That's the paradox the mind resists, to feel something before seeing it. But that is the key. You are not reacting to the world, you are creating it. Imagine waking up tomorrow and choosing to feel as though your deepest desire was already fulfilled. What would you wear? How would you carry yourself? What would you say? How would you treat others? You would not wait for the evidence. You would let the feeling guide the evidence to you. That is not denial, it is divine design. That is not escapism, it is embodiment. And embodiment is where creation takes place. Do not be discouraged by the time it takes. Feeling is not a race, it is a practice, a return. Every time you fall into doubt, gently return to the feeling. Every time fear whispers, replace it with the emotion of the life you choose to live. Your feelings are not accidents, they are instructions. They are signposts pointing you toward your creation. And if you ignore them, you may follow the path of effort and confusion. But if you honor them, there will always be moments when your outer world looks opposite to your inner vision. That is the test. That is the moment to dig deeper, to feel stronger, to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. Because it is in those moments that reality begins to bend. The pressure before the breakthrough is not a sign that it isn't working. It is proof that something unseen is being rearranged. Hold the feeling. Trust it more than what your eyes can see. Many will say, I'll believe it when I see you. But the truth has always been, you'll see it when you believe it and feel it. Feel as if you are already there. Dwell in that emotional atmosphere as long and as often as you can. Make it your default setting. Let your body grow familiar with the feeling of fulfillment, not lack. And when that feeling becomes natural to you, reality will conform. Do not underestimate the quiet power of feeling. It does not shout, it does not beg, it does not struggle, it simply is. And because it is, it calls forth everything that matches its frequency. Feeling is not a luxury of the fortunate, it is the tool of the awakened. It is your signal to life, your declaration to the unseen, your conversation with the divine. When you feel it, you are it. And when you are it, nothing can keep it from you. The world you see around you, the people you meet, the circumstances you face, the patterns you live through again and again, is not happening to you randomly. It is happening through you. It is the projection of your inner state, the invisible energy you carry, the thoughts you habitually entertain, and the assumptions you have allowed to become permanent residents in your consciousness. The outer world is not an independent force. It is a mirror. And like any mirror, it has no power of its own. It only reflects what stands before it. The moment you begin to change what you hold within, the reflection has no choice but to change as well. But this is the great misunderstanding that keeps people locked in cycles of repetition. They believe they must fix the world first in order to feel better. They try to rearrange the pieces outside themselves, changing jobs, changing cities, changing relationships, hoping that this time the right combination will bring them peace or fulfillment. But they fail to recognize that until their inner world shifts, the new job will feel like the old one, the new relationship will carry the same wounds, and the new opportunity will eventually close, just like the last. Why? Because the outer world does not lead, it follows. And what it follows is your inner state. You cannot escape your inner atmosphere. Wherever you go, there it is. You bring it with you into conversations, decisions, habits, and expectations. It speaks through your posture. It whispers through your tone of voice. It colors the way you interpret the actions of others, and most of all, it silently tells life what to give you next. If your inner state is dominated by fear, even your victories will feel fragile. If it is saturated with gratitude, even simple moments will feel profound. The quality of your life does not come from what you have. It comes from who you are being internally. To change your world, you must begin not with action, but with attention. Attention is the builder of consciousness. Where your attention goes, energy flows. If your attention is constantly placed on what's missing, what's broken, what's painful, you train your inner state to reflect lack. And in turn, the world mirrors that state with more reasons to feel empty. But if you shift your attention to what is already good, already working, already alive with potential, your inner state begins to change, and soon the world must echo that change back to you. This is not positivity, it is alignment. Think of your inner state like a frequency. Every state, joy, peace, resentment, lack, abundance, has its own vibration. The state you occupy most often becomes your broadcast signal. And life, like a faithful receiver, tunes into that signal and sends back corresponding experiences. You may not see the connection immediately. There is often a delay, just like a seed needs time to grow before it becomes visible. But make no mistake, what you plant inside will grow outside. It cannot be otherwise. When you begin to truly accept this, everything changes. You no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances. You see yourself as the architect. You take responsibility, not in a burdensome way, but in a liberating one. You stop waiting for someone to fix your life. You realize you have the tools already. The blueprint is your imagination. The material is your belief. The builder is your attention, and the energy that moves it all is your inner state. This is the real work. Not managing conditions, but mastering consciousness. Let this truth settle deep. Nothing can permanently change in your life until your inner state changes. You might win the lottery, but if you carry the inner state of lack, you will find a way to lose it. You might fall in love, but if your inner state is still filled with fear of abandonment, you will sabotage or strain the connection. You might get the promotion, but if your inner state is one of self-doubt, you'll feel like an imposter, never fully receiving the reward. The outer form can only give what the inner content is prepared to receive. That is why the greatest investment you can make is not in things, but in states. Practice dwelling in the state of confidence, and the world will begin to reflect respect back to you. Abide in the state of worthiness, and opportunities will start to appear where none existed before. Live in the state of peace, and even chaos around you will begin to lose its grip. This is not magic. It is cause and effect. It is the law of reflection. There is no need to chase. The more you chase, the more you confirm you do not have. And what you confirm within, you reinforce without. That is the cruel loop many are stuck in, desiring something deeply but reinforcing its absence by constantly reacting to what is missing. To break that loop, you must begin to live from the place of I already am, not one day I will be. This requires practice. This requires imagination. It requires a decision to no longer use the outer world as a scorecard. Because once you understand that the outer world is old news, just a reflection of past inner states, you begin to withdraw your power from it. You begin to give power back to the present moment, to your current inner state, knowing it is the only true cause. No one else controls your inner state unless you hand them that power. No circumstance can define it unless you let it. That is the sovereignty you possess. You can cultivate love in a place of rejection. You can generate abundance while your bank account still shows lack. You can build a deep peace while storms rage around you. Because none of these feelings require permission from the world. They require only that you claim them, dwell in them, live from them. And once you do, the mirror shifts. There may be resistance at first. The outer world may try to pull you back into its appearance. But that's all it is, appearance, not truth, not power. When you persist in your new inner state, even when the mirror shows the old reflection, you are rewriting the image. And when that new image is fully formed within, the outer world will blink and it will match. This is the mystery of faith, the power of persistence, the essence of transformation. You are not at the mercy of life. Life is at the mercy of your state. Choose wisely what you dwell in. Choose deliberately what you believe about yourself, your worth, your future. Because every time you choose a new state, the world begins, quietly, gradually, but inevitably, to reorganize itself around you. Imagination is not just a retreat for dreamers or a playground for the young. It is the origin of every reality you have ever lived, everything you have ever achieved, every experience you have known. Every shift in your life began first in the unseen world of imagination. Before the chair was carved, someone imagined it. Before the home was built, someone saw it clearly in their mind. Before you fell in love, before you succeeded at anything, it was felt and seen inwardly first, even if unconsciously. Imagination is the true workshop of creation. It is not fantasy, it is the birthplace of form. You may have been taught to downplay imagination, to treat it as secondary to logic and action. But imagination precedes both. It is the mold into which life is poured. Whatever image you hold vividly and consistently, especially when accompanied by feeling, begins to take root in your subconscious mind. And the subconscious, once impressed, goes to work. It does not judge, it does not question, it simply expresses. It takes the image, the idea, the assumption, you give it, and moves your body, your decisions, your encounters, and your circumstances to bring it to life. It is not your job to figure out how this happens. Your job is to imagine well. But to imagine well does not mean to wish aimlessly or daydream passively. It means to enter into a scene with such intensity that it becomes more real to you than the outer world. It means to live inside the image of your fulfilled desire as though it were already your reality. It means you see yourself not as someone trying to get there, but as someone who already is. You imagine with conviction. You dwell in it until it begins to feel familiar. And once it feels familiar, it starts to become your identity. And once it becomes your identity, life must match it. Imagination is not about escape. It is about alignment. You are not running from what is. You are stepping into what already exists within you, waiting to be expressed. That vision you carry, that longing in your heart, it is not placed there to taunt you. It is your permission. It is your invitation. It is the seed. And imagination is the light and water that causes it to grow. Every time you revisit that inner scene, you are reinforcing it. You are telling your subconscious, this is who I am. This is what is real for me. And slowly, the old image fades and the new one takes hold. When you imagine something, you do not need the world's agreement. You do not need external confirmation. Your task is not to convince others, it is to convince yourself. And imagination is the most powerful tool to do just that. Because when you see it over and over again, when you feel it, speak from it, act from it, your inner world begins to reflect that vision, and your outer world must eventually follow. It is not a matter of if, only when. That is the certainty of the law. You may say, but my current reality looks nothing like what I'm imagining. That does not matter. The outer world is always a delayed reflection. What you see now is the result of past thoughts, past states, past imaginings. It is old news. Do not let the old reflection stop you from imagining something new. If you continue to react to what is, you will recreate more of it. But if you respond with imagination, if you dare to live inwardly in a state of the wish fulfilled, you interrupt the cycle. You plant a new seed. You begin a new creation. There is a sacredness to the act of imagining. When done with faith and persistence, it becomes a holy act. It becomes communion with the infinite. You are speaking directly to your deeper mind, saying, "This is what I choose." You are not begging, you are not pleading, you are creating. You are stepping into the divine role of the artist of your life. And the more often you return to that inner workshop, the more detailed, vivid, and alive your creation becomes. Many people imagine unconsciously. They dwell on what they fear, what they resent, what they believe they cannot have. And their lives reflect that internal rehearsal of failure, of disappointment, of lack. But once you become aware of the power of imagination, you take back the pen. You begin to write a new story, not just with words, but with pictures, feelings, and inner experiences. And over time, that inner script becomes the one the world follows. The mind cannot hold two conflicting images with equal power for long. One will eventually dominate. If you constantly revisit the image of defeat, of being overlooked or unworthy, that will shape your experience. But if you replace it with the image of strength, clarity, fulfillment, held with feeling and focus, it will eventually override the old story. That is the power you hold, not through struggle, but through vision. The most powerful changes begin in silence, in stillness, behind closed eyes. When the world is loud, when circumstances are pressing in, that is when imagination becomes your sanctuary. You close your eyes, take a breath, and step into the world as you desire it to be. You do not wait for it to happen. You become it in the unseen. And because the world responds to the vibration of who you are being, the outer must bow to the inner. It is law. It is the unseen choreography that brings events, people, and moments into alignment. Even a few minutes of pure, undistracted, emotionally charged imagination is more powerful than hours of mindless action. Because you are not moving from force, you are moving from certainty. You do not beg the world to change, you simply change within and watch the world adjust. You begin to act as one who already has, because inwardly you have already claimed it. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, choose differently, not to fake it, but because your inner image no longer matches your old behavior. This is not arrogance, it is truth in action. The world may not understand your calm, your peace, your confidence when nothing has yet happened, but you will know. Because it has happened within. The shift has already occurred, and the outer world is simply catching up. You do not chase, you do not prove. You dwell, you rest, you imagine, and therefore you create. Gratitude is not meant to be a reaction, it is meant to be a way of being. The world has taught us that we should give thanks after we receive, that we should celebrate only when something arrives, that appreciation is a response to external blessing. But that understanding is backward. Gratitude is not the result of manifestation, it is the catalyst. When you give thanks before something shows up, you are not pretending. You are aligning. You are declaring to the universe that your desire is not a hope, not a wish, but a present reality within you. You are living in the feeling of it. And that feeling sends a signal far stronger than any words ever could. To be grateful for something you do not yet see is to plant the seed of that very thing. You are no longer asking, no longer doubting, no longer waiting. You are claiming. You are showing faith, not through struggle or repetition, but through calm certainty. Gratitude, when practiced in this way, becomes an act of spiritual knowing. You are saying, this is already mine. I see it. I feel it. I am thankful for it. And in doing so, you speak in the language of creation. When you close your eyes and enter the state of the wish fulfilled, gratitude must naturally follow. Because if you were already living your desire, how else would you feel? You would be thankful. You would walk with lightness. You would speak from joy. You would breathe more freely. That is the power of gratitude before manifestation. It aligns your inner world with the outcome you wish to see. It tells your subconscious, this is who I am now. And the subconscious, always obedient, begins to shape your reality to match that state. People often get stuck in cycles of longing. They spend so much time focusing on what they don't have that they reinforce its absence. They wake up thinking about the lack. They go to sleep repeating the story of delay. Their energy is wrapped in the belief that something is missing. But gratitude shifts all of that. Gratitude assumes completion. It assumes fulfillment. It assumes that there is something to be thankful for now, and that assumption is what changes the frequency of your life. When you begin to give thanks for what you desire as if it were already here, you enter into harmony with that version of yourself who already has it. And harmony always creates attraction. You are no longer vibrating with need. You are vibrating with sufficiency. The energy of please let it happen is heavy. It repels. But the energy of thank you it is done is magnetic. It draws things in with ease. To practice this, start small. Every time you spend money, instead of feeling fear or lack, feel gratitude. Tell yourself, there is always more where that came from. When you see something expensive, instead of saying, I can't afford that, say, that is meant for me. It is already mine. Shift your inner dialogue from one of scarcity to one of abundance. At night, before you fall asleep, close your eyes and imagine yourself already wealthy. Feel the excitement, the peace, the joy that comes with financial freedom. Let yourself experience that reality so vividly that it feels as if it is happening now. Do not concern yourself with how or when it will happen. Just feel it. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. It only accepts what you impress upon it. And once you impress the feeling of wealth deeply enough, it must manifest in your reality. The moment you assume the feeling of wealth, your energy shifts. You start to attract different experiences. You meet new people. You receive unexpected opportunities, and doors open in ways you could never have planned. But it all begins with the decision to feel wealthy now, regardless of what your current circumstances say. You do not need permission to feel rich. You do not need proof. You only need to choose in this moment to claim that wealth is already yours. Walk as if you are already successful. Speak as if you have already achieved financial freedom. Think and feel as if you have unlimited abundance. The world will adjust to match your assumption. You are not waiting for money to make you feel rich. You are using the power of feeling to bring money into your life. Assume the feeling now, and everything else will follow. Your imagination is the most powerful tool you possess. It is not a mere daydreaming mechanism or a place for idle fantasies. It is the blueprint of your reality, the creative force that shapes your experiences. Every great achievement, every invention, Every success story began as an idea, a vision held in the mind of its creator. If you desire wealth, you must first create it within. You must see yourself as rich before the world reflects it back to you. Most people limit themselves because they believe only in what their physical senses tell them. They look at their bank account and see lack. They look at their bills and feel anxiety. They listen to people around them who reinforce struggle and limitation. But what they do not realize is that their current reality is only a reflection of their past thoughts and beliefs. It is not permanent. It is not fixed. It is simply a projection of the assumptions they have carried up until now. Your imagination is the bridge between your current reality and the life you desire. If you can imagine yourself wealthy, truly feel it, and dwell in that feeling consistently, your external world must change to match that inner assumption. This is not wishful thinking, it is law. The world outside of you is not separate from you. It is a mirror of your consciousness. When you shift your inner state, the outer world must follow. To use your imagination effectively, you must engage it with full intensity. You must make your imagined wealth feel as real, if not more real, than your current circumstances. The mind does not know the difference between what is vividly imagined and what is actually experienced. If you can close your eyes and step into the reality of wealth, feeling it with your whole being, your subconscious mind will accept it as truth. And once your subconscious accepts it, your external world will begin to shift in ways beyond your comprehension. Consider a person who wants to be financially free but constantly reinforces their current limitations. They wake up every day thinking about their debts, their expenses, and all the reasons why they cannot get ahead. They might dream about wealth occasionally, but they do not dwell in that feeling. Instead, they return to their familiar thoughts of lack, reinforcing their current state. They do not use their imagination with purpose. They use it to replay past struggles and reinforce their limitations. Now imagine someone who, despite their current financial situation, chooses to live in the feeling of wealth. Every day they close their eyes and see themselves financially free. They imagine what it feels like to have unlimited resources. They visualize themselves making purchases effortlessly, traveling where they desire, giving generously. They do not do this as a mere daydream. They do it with full conviction. They feel the excitement, the relief, the joy of having more than enough. This person is planting seeds in their subconscious mind. And as they persist in this assumption, their world begins to shift. They start to notice new opportunities. They have ideas that lead to success. They meet people who help them move forward. Their financial reality begins to change, not through struggle, but through alignment with the state they have assumed. This is the power of imagination. It is not something to be used occasionally, it is something to be lived in. If you want to be rich, you must dwell in the feeling of wealth daily. You must return to it again and again until it becomes your natural state. At night before sleep is one of the most powerful times to impress your subconscious. As you lie in bed, close your eyes and imagine yourself already wealthy. Do not see it as something in the future. See it as your present reality. Feel the weight of money in your hands. See the numbers in your bank account. Walk through the house you desire. Drive the car you love. Live in the version of yourself that is already successful. Let it feel so real that when you open your eyes, you are momentarily surprised that it has not yet manifested physically. When you wake up in the morning, before reaching for your phone or engaging with the external world, return to that feeling of wealth. Let it guide your day. Speak as if you are already rich. Move through life with the confidence of someone who has all they need. Do not entertain thoughts of lack. If doubts arise, reject them. Remind yourself that your imagination is the creator of your reality, and whatever you consistently assume must come to pass. People may look at you and wonder why you act so confidently when your external circumstances do not yet reflect your inner assumption. Let them wonder. The world always questions those who operate from a higher state of consciousness until their results become undeniable. Then those same people will ask how you did it, and you will know that it was never about the external conditions. It was always about the inner state. The greatest mistake people make is allowing their imagination to be dictated by their current reality. They think only in terms of what they see, hear, and experience. But this is like driving while only looking in the rearview mirror. Your current reality is simply a reflection of past thoughts. If you continue to focus on it, you will recreate the same experiences over and over again. But if you use your imagination to create a new vision, and if you persist in that vision, your future must change. Some will say, but what if I imagine wealth and nothing changes? The only reason nothing would change is if you do not fully believe in the reality you are imagining. You cannot simply wish for wealth while feeling poor inside. You must assume the feeling completely, with no room for doubt. You must walk through life as if it is already done. This is where persistence comes in. You cannot try this once or twice and then give up. You must commit to it. You must return to the feeling of wealth every day, no matter what the external world shows you. The moment you begin to live in your desired state internally, reality starts shifting to match it. Look at any truly successful person, and you will find that at some point in their journey, they had to believe in their success before the evidence appeared. They had to see themselves as successful long before the world recognized it. They used their imagination to build their future, and you must do the same. You were not given the power of imagination to waste on worry, doubt, or limitation. You were given this power to create. Use it deliberately. Every time you find yourself dwelling in thoughts of lack, shift back to the vision of wealth. Every time fear arises, remind yourself that your imagination is shaping your reality, and you have the power to choose abundance. There is no limit to what you can create. The only limits are those you impose upon yourself. If you can see it in your mind, if you can feel it as real, it must manifest in your world. Wealth is not something you chase, it is something you assume. And once you assume it fully, it becomes your reality. Your dominant beliefs shape your financial reality. You are not at the mercy of fate, luck, or external circumstances. Your beliefs are the true architects of your wealth. If you believe money is difficult to obtain, that belief will manifest in your life. If you believe wealth flows to you effortlessly, you will experience that truth. Your subconscious mind accepts whatever you impress upon it, and the world simply mirrors those beliefs back to you. And consider the person who constantly says, I can't afford this. Money is hard to come by, or only the lucky get rich. These words may seem harmless, but they are powerful affirmations of lack. Every time they repeat these statements, they reinforce a reality in which financial struggle persists. Their subconscious mind, like a loyal servant, works to fulfill the instructions it has been given. It does not question whether the belief is beneficial, it simply manifests it. Now consider another person who holds the belief, I always have more than enough. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways, or I am financially free. Even if their bank account does not yet reflect these statements, their belief will begin to reshape their reality. The subconscious mind will search for ways to align their external world with this inner assumption. Opportunities will appear, ideas will flow, and their financial situation will shift. Most people do not realize that their financial struggles are a reflection of deeply ingrained subconscious programming. They may work hard, chase opportunities, and try to save, but if they carry beliefs of lack, struggle, or unworthiness, those beliefs will always override their efforts. It is not about working harder, it is about shifting your consciousness to a state of abundance. Where do these limiting beliefs come from? Many are inherited from childhood. If you grew up hearing phrases like money doesn't grow on trees, you have to work hard for every penny, or rich people are greedy, you likely absorb these ideas without question. These beliefs became the foundation of your financial mindset, and unless they are consciously examined and replaced, they will continue to govern your financial life. The good news is that beliefs are not set in stone. They can be changed. Just as you once absorbed limiting beliefs, you can now choose to install empowering ones. You can decide right now to adopt the mindset of a wealthy person. To shift your beliefs, start by becoming aware of them. Pay attention to your thoughts about money. Do you feel anxious when paying bills? Do you believe wealth is reserved for others but not for you? Do you feel unworthy of financial success? Awareness is the first step to transformation. Once you recognize limiting beliefs, replace them with new, empowering ones. Use affirmations to impress these beliefs upon your subconscious mind. Statements like, I am a magnet for wealth. Money flows to me easily and effortlessly. And I am financially abundant should become your daily reality. Repeat them with conviction. Feel them as true. Visualization is another powerful tool for reshaping beliefs. Every day, close your eyes and see yourself as financially free. Imagine yourself receiving large sums of money, making purchases without worry, and living in total abundance. Do not just see it, feel it. Let the sensation of wealth fill your entire being. The subconscious mind responds to feeling more than words. If you can feel rich before it appears physically, you will draw it into your experience. Your actions must also align with your new beliefs. If you believe you are abundant, act accordingly. This does not mean reckless spending, but rather moving through life with confidence and generosity. Wealthy people do not cling to every dollar in fear of losing it. They trust in the flow of abundance. Adopt that same trust. Give without fear. Invest in yourself. Move with certainty, knowing that money is an ever-flowing resource. Your environment plays a significant role in shaping your beliefs. Surround yourself with people who have a wealth mindset. Listen to those who inspire you. Read books on prosperity and immerse yourself in conversations that expand your financial perspective. If you spend time with those who constantly complain about money, their beliefs will influence yours. Be mindful of the energy you allow into your consciousness. Patience and persistence are key. Your current reality is the result of years of conditioning, and it may take time to fully shift your beliefs. But every moment spent in the state of abundance brings you closer to its manifestation. Do not be discouraged if external changes are not immediate. Trust that your new beliefs are taking root, and reality will adjust accordingly. You may have been taught that riches come through effort, through struggle, through the long path of toil, but this is the great illusion. All that you seek already exists in infinite supply, and the only work required is the work of the mind. You do not need to worry about how it will come or when it will arrive. That is the concern of those who do not yet understand the nature of creation. Your only task is to accept, fully and completely, that it is already yours. Right now, in this moment, allow yourself to feel the joy of abundance, not as something distant, but as something already here. How would you move through life if you knew, without a doubt, that you were rich? What would change in the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you breathe? You must embody this feeling so completely that the outer world has no choice but to conform. The world is simply a mirror, reflecting back the assumptions you hold most deeply. Doubt will whisper that this is foolish, that reality must be faced, that circumstances dictate what is possible. But this is the old way of thinking, the way of those who remain bound to limitation. You are not here to argue with appearances. You are here to transcend them. The moment you assume the feeling of wealth, the moment you accept it as your natural state, everything rearranges itself to match. People, opportunities, ideas, all will begin to move in harmony with your new state of being. This is not wishful thinking, it is law. That which you impress upon your subconscious must be expressed. There is no effort in this, only surrender. The moment you claim it within, it is done. The means will appear in ways you could never have planned. The mind, conditioned by the past, will try to control the process, but you must let go and trust that all is unfolding perfectly. You are not becoming rich, you are realizing that you already are. The moment you accept this, everything in your world will shift. If this message has reached you, it is because you are ready to receive it. Let the old beliefs fall away. Step into the feeling of wealth now, and watch as the world confirms what you have always been. Wealth is a state of being, not an external condition to be attained. This is the great truth that separates those who struggle from those who effortlessly attract abundance into their lives. Most people have been conditioned to believe that money, success, and prosperity are things that exist outside of themselves, things that must be worked for, earned, or acquired through effort and struggle. But the reality is that all wealth begins within. It is first a mindset, a belief system, a way of seeing and experiencing the world. To truly understand this, one must look beyond the physical world and recognize the deeper nature of creation. Everything that exists in your life is a reflection of your internal state. Your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions shape your experiences. If you hold the belief that wealth is hard to come by, that money is scarce, that abundance is reserved for a select few, then that will be your reality. But if you shift your inner state to one of wealth, if you begin to think, feel, and act as if you are already prosperous, the world will reflect that back to you in ways beyond your comprehension. Wealth is not something you pursue, it is something you align with. Consider how the wealthiest individuals think and move through life. They do not wake up in the morning questioning whether they will have money or whether opportunities will come. They have already assumed that wealth is their natural state, and because of that assumption, they attract more of it. It is not the external riches that create this mindset. It is the mindset that creates the riches. Most people believe that if they just had more money, they would finally feel secure, free, and happy, but this is an illusion. If money alone created wealth, then every lottery winner would remain rich. Yet statistics show that most return to financial struggle within a few years. Why? Because their inner state did not match the wealth they received. They had money, but they still carried the consciousness of lack, and so they found ways, whether consciously or unconsciously, to lose it. Wealth that is not rooted in an internal state of abundance cannot last. This is why wealth is never about how much money you have right now. It is about how you see yourself. If you view yourself as someone who struggles financially, who is always chasing after money, who is dependent on external circumstances to determine your prosperity, then that is the reality you will experience, no matter how much you earn. But if you shift your identity, if you begin to see yourself as already wealthy, as someone for whom abundance flows naturally, as someone who is always in the right place at the right time, then your external world must reorganize itself to match that inner reality. There is no effort in this process, only alignment. The moment you stop seeking wealth as something outside of yourself and start embodying it as a state of being, the doors begin to open. You start attracting new opportunities, meeting the right people, having ideas that lead to success. It is not magic, though it may appear that way. It is simply the law of consciousness in action. To cultivate this state of being, one must begin with imagination. Imagine right now that you are already wealthy. Not in the distant future, not one day, but now. Close your eyes and feel it. How do you carry yourself? How do you speak? How do you make decisions? How do you move through life? The person who is truly wealthy does not worry about money, does not fear lack, does not hesitate when opportunities arise. They trust in their abundance. They know that whatever they need will always be provided. This feeling must become so natural to you that it becomes second nature. It must become the dominant state from which you operate. And when it does, the outer world will follow. People will start to call you with unexpected opportunities. Money will appear in ways you never planned. Things will work out for you effortlessly. Not because you are lucky, but because you have shifted your internal state to match the reality you wish to experience. Some may question this and say, but what if I have no money right now? How can I feel wealthy when my bank account says otherwise? This is the great paradox of creation. You must believe it before you see it. Most people do the opposite. They wait for proof before they believe. But the proof only comes after the belief. You do not need to fake anything or pretend. You simply need to assume the feeling of wealth as if it is already yours. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up every day to check if it is growing. You trust the process. You water it, you nurture it, and you allow it to develop in its own time. Your wealth works the same way. Once you have planted the seed of abundance in your mind, once you have assumed the state of wealth, you do not need to force anything. You simply trust that it is done, and you move through life with that confidence. Doubt is the only thing that can disrupt this process. If you constantly question whether it is working, if you allow fear and worry to creep in, you delay the manifestation of your wealth. This is why those who are truly successful seem so certain. They have an unshakable belief in their abundance. They do not entertain thoughts of lack. They do not focus on what they do not have. They only see themselves as wealthy, and because of that, their reality conforms. This is available to you now. There is nothing you need to wait for, nothing you need to chase. The only thing required is a shift in perception. See yourself as already wealthy. Walk as if you already have everything you need. Speak as if your success is guaranteed. Act from the feeling of abundance, not from the feeling of lack. When you do this consistently, your outer world must change to match your inner reality. You are not meant to struggle. You are not meant to live in lack. You were created to experience abundance in all areas of life. But it begins within. Wealth is not a number in a bank account. It is not the possessions you own. It is not something that comes and goes. It is a state of being, a way of thinking, a way of feeling. The moment you truly understand this, the moment you shift your consciousness to align with this truth, wealth will flow to you effortlessly. Assume the feeling of wealth now, before any physical evidence appears. This is the key to unlocking true abundance in your life. Most people believe they need to wait until they have money in their hands before they can feel rich. They think that once they have the job, the business, the promotion, or the bank balance they desire, then they will finally feel secure, free, and prosperous. But this is completely backward. The truth is, you must feel it first, and only then will the external world rearrange itself to match that feeling. Your reality is a reflection of your dominant state of consciousness. The way you feel, think, and believe determines what you experience in the physical world. If you constantly feel lack, worry, and fear about money, then you are reinforcing a state of being that attracts more of the same. The outer world mirrors your inner world. This is why those who struggle with money often continue struggling, and why those who already feel abundant continue to attract even more wealth. It is not because one group is lucky and the other is not. It is because one group has assumed the feeling of wealth before the evidence appeared, while the other is waiting for proof before they allow themselves to feel rich. This is the mistake most people make. They wait. They say, once I have money, I'll feel abundant. But the universe does not work that way. The law of consciousness states that you must assume the state first. You must act, think, and feel as though you are already wealthy, and then the world must conform to that assumption. It is not about pretending or faking. It is about truly embodying the feeling of wealth now, in this moment. To understand how this works, think about any successful person you admire. Do they hesitate when making financial decisions? Do they worry about how they will pay their bills? Do they live in fear of lack? No. They move through life with confidence, with ease, with a deep sense of certainty that money is always flowing to them. They have already assumed the feeling of wealth, and because of that, they experience it in the physical world. If you want to become rich, you must do the same. You must decide right now to embody the state of wealth. Close your eyes and imagine what it feels like to have all the money you could ever need. How does it feel to wake up knowing you are financially free? How does it feel to move through your day without any anxiety about money? How does it feel to make decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity? If you can generate this feeling within yourself, you are already wealthy in consciousness. And once you are wealthy in consciousness, the physical world will have no choice but to reflect that back to you. This is not wishful thinking, it is a universal law. What you assume to be true in your inner world must be expressed in the outer world. This is where most people struggle. They say, "But I don't have the money yet. How can I feel rich when my reality is showing me the opposite?" This is the test. This is where you must discipline your mind. You must ignore what your senses are telling you and focus only on what you know to be true in your inner world. Your senses will always show you the result of past thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. If you continue to react to what you see, you will stay trapped in the same cycle. But if you persist in assuming the feeling of wealth, despite what your current reality shows, your world will begin to shift. Consider a person who constantly complains about their financial struggles. They wake up every day worrying about money. They say things like, "I never have enough. Making money is hard, and I can't afford that." Their words and thoughts reinforce a state of lack. And because they are assuming the feeling of lack, their reality continues to reflect that state back to them. Now imagine someone who, despite not yet having millions in the bank, moves through life as if they are already rich. They speak with confidence. They trust that money is always flowing to them. They carry themselves with a sense of ease and abundance. They do not panic over bills or expenses because they have already assumed that their wealth is inevitable. It is not arrogance, it is certainty. And because they have claimed the state within themselves, their world shifts to match it. Opportunities appear, ideas come, and money begins to flow effortlessly into their lives. This is the secret. The feeling comes first. You must discipline yourself to feel abundant now. You cannot wait for money to show up before you allow yourself to feel rich. The order must be reversed. You must guard your mind against doubt. When old fears arise, remind yourself of the truth. Your beliefs shape your reality, and you have chosen new beliefs. Do not waver. Hold your vision with absolute certainty. The moment you fully accept wealth as your truth, the external world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Many people spend their entire lives chasing money, never realizing that the true source of wealth lies within. They search for opportunities, struggle to get ahead, and believe that success is always just out of reach. But those who understand the power of belief do not chase, they attract. They know that wealth is not something to be pursued, but something to be assumed. And once assumed, it becomes inevitable. Your financial situation is not determined by the economy, your job, or external factors. It is determined by the beliefs you hold. If you want to be rich, start by believing it. Live in that belief. Feel it as true. And as you persist, the world will reorganize itself to match your conviction. Wealth is not outside of you, it is within. Change your mind and you will change your financial reality. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. It is not just a polite habit or a fleeting emotion. It is a state of being, a vibrational frequency that aligns you with the very essence of abundance. When you are truly grateful, you acknowledge the presence of wealth in your life, even before it manifests physically. And because reality reflects your inner state, gratitude becomes the key that unlocks the flow of prosperity. Most people make the mistake of waiting until they have something to be grateful for before they express gratitude. They look at their current circumstances and say, "I'll be thankful when I have more money. I'll feel blessed when I get that promotion," or "I'll celebrate when my financial struggles are over." But this approach is backward. The truth is, you must first feel grateful in order to attract more wealth. Gratitude is not a reaction to abundance. It is the cause of abundance. When you practice gratitude, you shift your focus from lack to sufficiency. You stop dwelling on what is missing and start appreciating what is present. And because the subconscious mind accepts whatever you focus on as truth, it begins to align your reality with the feeling of abundance. Imagine two people. One constantly complains about money, focusing on their bills, debts, and financial worries. The other, despite having the same financial situation, chooses to be grateful for every dollar they have. They give thanks for the money in their wallet, the roof over their head, the food on their table. They recognize the small blessings that many overlook. Which person do you think is in a better position to attract wealth? The one who dwells in scarcity, reinforcing their belief in lack, or the one who radiates gratitude, aligning themselves with the energy of abundance? Gratitude opens the door for more to flow into your life, because it signals to the universe that you are already in a state of receiving. And the universe, responding to the law of attraction, gives you more of what you are energetically aligned with. If you feel rich even before your bank account reflects it, you set in motion the circumstances that will bring wealth into your experience. One of the most effective ways to use gratitude for wealth creation is through daily practice. Each morning, before you begin your day, take a few moments to give thanks for everything you have. Do not focus on what you lack. Focus on the blessings that already exist in your life. Be grateful for your home, your health, your opportunities, and the money you already possess, no matter how little it may seem. At night, as you lie in bed, review your day with gratitude. Feel thankful for every dollar that came to you, for every act of kindness you received, for every opportunity that moved you closer to your financial goals. Even if you had challenges, be grateful for the lessons they brought, knowing they are guiding you to greater success. Beyond daily gratitude, learn to express thanks for money before it even arrives. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It only responds to what you feel is true. If you can feel deep appreciation for the wealth that is on its way, as if it has already arrived, you create the conditions for its manifestation. If you are expecting a payment, a raise, or a financial breakthrough, give thanks for it now. Feel the joy of already having received it. Imagine checking your bank account and seeing the number you desire. Say, "Thank you for this financial blessing. I receive it with gratitude." The more you dwell in this state, the faster wealth will materialize in your life. Gratitude must also extend to giving. Many people fear that giving money away will decrease their wealth, but the opposite is true. When you give from a place of gratitude and abundance, you affirm that you have more than enough. You send a signal to the universe that you trust in the flow of prosperity. And because the universe responds to your inner state, it ensures that more wealth comes back to you. Give with joy, whether it is to charity, to a friend in need, or as a gesture of generosity. Do not give out of guilt or obligation. Give because you recognize that money is a flowing energy, and by circulating it, you invite more into your life. The greatest mistake people make is resisting gratitude because their external reality does not yet match their desires. They look at their current financial situation and think, "I can't be grateful for this." But gratitude is not about denying reality. It is about shifting your perception. Even in moments of financial struggle, there is always something to be grateful for. And the more you focus on those blessings, the more they will expand. The wealthiest people in the world understand this principle. They did not wait until they became rich to feel abundant. They felt abundance first, and wealth followed. They gave thanks for opportunities before they appeared. They appreciated every dollar, knowing that gratitude multiplies what you have. If you want to change your financial reality, start by changing your state of being. Let gratitude be your foundation. Instead of focusing on what is missing, focus on what is present. Instead of complaining about lack, celebrate sufficiency. Give thanks for every sign of abundance in your life, no matter how small. When you wake up each morning with a heart full of gratitude, you align yourself with the energy of wealth. When you move through your day appreciating every financial blessing, you attract more. When you go to sleep feeling thankful for all that you have, you set the stage for even greater abundance to come. Gratitude is not just a practice. It is a way of life. And when you live in gratitude, wealth is no longer something you chase. It is something that flows effortlessly to you.
There is a secret power within you, one so profound that if you understood it, if you truly grasped it, your entire world would change in an instant. Look around at your life. Everything you see, every experience you've had, every opportunity or limitation, it all stems from one thing, your imagination. You are not bound by circumstance. You are bound only by the limitations of your own mind. And if you would dare to see yourself differently, the world must follow. You have been told to wait for wealth, to earn it, to deserve it. But what if that is not how reality works? What if wealth is not something to be gained, but something to be assumed? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine. Imagine the feeling of being rich, not just in money, but in confidence, in power, in freedom. See yourself as the master of your reality, walking through life with the certainty that all you desire is already yours. You do not wish for wealth, you embody it. You do not chase success, you walk as if success chases you. Most people live their lives reacting to the world, believing that circumstances dictate their fate. But you are different. You understand that the outer world is simply a reflection of the inner world. The rich man is not rich because of what he possesses. He is rich because of how he sees himself. The poor man remains poor not because of lack, but because of his inner conversation, the silent whisper that tells him he is lacking. Change that whisper and you change everything. Act as if you're rich. Not with arrogance, not with pride, but with certainty. Move through life with a quiet assurance that everything you desire is already within your grasp. See yourself as someone for whom success is natural, effortless. When you wake up, feel the presence of wealth before your eyes even open. When you step outside, walk as if the world belongs to you. When you speak, let your words reflect the abundance that already exists within you. Doubt will try to creep in. The mind will question, but how? Where will it come from? Do not entertain these questions, for they are the chains that bind you to a lesser life. Instead, simply know, hold the vision of yourself as already having, already being, already living in abundance, and refuse to waver. The world must conform to your assumption because that is the law. You are not pretending, you are creating, you are impressing upon reality the image of who you truly are, and as surely as the sun rises, that image will take form in your world. There is no one richer than you, because wealth is not counted in numbers, it is counted in certainty, in the conviction that what you desire is already yours. And the moment you step into that truth, the world will bow before you. There is a secret power within you, one so profound that if you understood it, If you truly grasped it, your entire world would change in an instant. Look around at your life. Everything you see, every experience you've had, every opportunity or limitation, it all stems from one thing, your imagination. You are not bound by circumstance. You are bound only by the limitations of your own mind. And if you would dare to see yourself differently, the world must follow. You have been told to wait for wealth, to earn it, to deserve it. But what if that is not how reality works? What if wealth is not something to be gained, but something to become? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine. Imagine the feeling of being rich, not just in money, but in confidence, in power, in freedom. See yourself as the master of your reality, walking through life with the certainty that all you desire is already yours. You do not wish for wealth, you embody it. You do not chase success, you walk as if success chases you. Wealth is not about possessions. It is not about numbers in a bank account. It is not about luck or circumstance. True wealth is an assumption. It is the belief, the deep knowing that you are already rich. The world has conditioned you to believe that wealth is something external, something you must work tirelessly to earn, something that comes to the lucky or the privileged. But that is not the truth. The truth is this: the moment you assume yourself to be rich, the moment you carry the feeling of abundance within you, the world must rearrange itself to reflect that belief. Look at those who live in wealth, who move with confidence, who radiate success. It is not their money that makes them rich. It is not their possessions that define their abundance. It is their state of mind. They expect wealth. They assume it as natural. They do not question whether it is coming. They know it is already theirs. And because they hold that assumption, the world responds in kind. But what about those who struggle? What about those who work endlessly yet seem trapped in financial lack? It is not effort alone that determines wealth. It is the assumption behind the effort. The poor man works hard, but he believes in struggle. He believes money is scarce, that wealth is difficult to obtain, that success is for others but not for him. And so, despite all his effort, he remains in lack. You must ask yourself, what do you assume to be true about wealth? Do you see it as something separate from you, something you must chase, something you hope for but do not expect? If so, you will always remain one step behind, always grasping but never holding. But the moment you shift that assumption, the moment you say, I am wealthy, I have abundance, success is my nature, everything will begin to change. This is not about pretense. It is not about faking it until you make it. It is about realizing the truth that wealth is a state of being, and that state is entirely within your control. If you see yourself as rich, the world will see you as rich. If you carry yourself with the certainty of abundance, doors will open where there were once walls. Think of a time when you felt confident, when you knew something was yours before it even arrived. Maybe it was a job you knew you would get, a relationship that felt inevitable, an opportunity that seemed destined for you. You did not doubt it. You did not question whether it was possible. You simply knew. And because you knew, it happened. The wealth works the same way. The moment you assume it is yours, the moment you embody that feeling, the path to it begins to unfold. You don't need to chase money. You need to align with wealth. You need to think, speak, and move through the world as someone who already possesses everything they desire. Some will say, but I have bills to pay, I have real problems. How can I assume wealth when my reality shows otherwise? But that is precisely the issue. You are allowing the external world to dictate your internal state when in truth, It is your internal state that creates the external world. If you wait for wealth to appear before you feel rich, you will wait forever. You must feel wealthy first, and the material wealth will follow. Look at your hands. They are the same hands that will hold every blessing you desire. Look around you. The world you see today is not permanent. It is a reflection of past thoughts and assumptions. Change the assumption and the world must change. When you walk with the posture of someone who owns their reality. When you speak, let your words reflect certainty, not doubt. When you make decisions, make them from a place of abundance, not lack. The more you assume the feeling of wealth, the more the world must align with that assumption. Think of a sculptor standing before a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it is just a rough, unformed mass. But to the sculptor, the masterpiece already exists within the stone. He does not wonder if it'll emerge. He knows it is there, waiting to be revealed. Your wealth already exists. It is already within you. The only task is to chisel away the doubts, the fears, the false beliefs that have hidden it from view. You are not separate from abundance. You are not someone who must struggle, who must prove themselves worthy. You are already wealthy. You are already powerful. You simply need to assume it, to claim it, to walk in the knowing that nothing is out of reach. The rich man is rich not because of what he has, but because of what he is. The poor man is poor not because of what he lacks, but because of what he believes. And in an instant, the poor man can become rich if he only dares to see himself differently. Assume wealth, live from the feeling of abundance. Trust that the moment you claim it in your mind, the world has no choice but to follow. This is the law. It has always been the law, and the moment you embrace it, you will understand that no one is richer than you. You are not living in a world of randomness. You are not at the mercy of luck, fate, or external forces beyond your control. The reality you wake up to every morning, the people you meet, the opportunities, or lack thereof, that come your way, all of it is a reflection of your assumptions. Nothing in your life happens by accident. Everything is the direct result of what you assume to be true about yourself, about wealth, about success, and about life itself. When most people believe that life happens to them, that circumstances dictate what they can or cannot achieve, they say, I have to work hard to be rich, or success depends on who you know, or only lucky people get ahead in life. These are not facts. These are assumptions. And because they assume these things, their reality takes shape accordingly. What you assume, you experience. This is not philosophy, this is law. It is unbreakable, absolute, and operating in your life at this very moment. Look around at your world, your job, your income, your relationships. These are not coincidences. They're projections of your deepest held assumptions. If you assume that money is scarce, it will always be just out of reach. If you assume that success is difficult, you will always struggle. If you assume that wealth flows easily to you, it must. Your assumption determines the way life unfolds. But here's where people get stuck. They look at their current reality and assume that what they see is the truth. They say, I'm struggling, so I must not be meant for wealth. I've never been successful, so I must not be capable. They let what is happening now dictate what they believe is possible. But that is completely backwards. Reality is not something you observe. It is something you create. And the way you create it is through assumption. The rich do not wait to see money before they believe in their wealth. They assume wealth first, and then it materializes. The successful do not wait for external validation before believing in their own power. They assume success first, and then the world reflects it back to them. The moment you decide that you are already rich, that you are already successful, that you already possess everything you desire, the world has no choice but to conform to that assumption. Let's break this down into simple terms. Imagine walking into a room full of people. If you assume that nobody likes you, you will act shy, uncomfortable, hesitant. You will avoid eye contact. Your voice will be uncertain. Your energy will be withdrawn. And what will happen? People will pick up on that energy and keep their distance. Your assumption has just shaped the outcome. Now, imagine walking into the same room with the assumption that everyone finds you interesting, valuable, and important. What happens? Your body language shifts. You stand taller. Your voice is steady. Your presence is felt. And people respond to that assumption. They see you as confident, engaging, and worth knowing. It is not the room that changed. It is your assumption that changed. And your assumption determined the outcome. The same is true for wealth. If you assume that money is always slipping through your fingers, you will live in a constant state of lack. You will hesitate to invest. You will fear losing what you have, and you will make choices that reinforce that assumption. But if you assume that you're already wealthy, you will carry yourself with a quiet certainty that attracts wealth to you. You will make decisions from a place of abundance, not scarcity. You will see opportunities where others see obstacles. And because you assume wealth, wealth must conform to your assumption. If you want proof that your reality conforms to your assumption, test it for yourself. For one day, assume something different than what your current reality suggests. Assume that everything is working in your favor. Assume that people are drawn to you, that opportunities are seeking you out, that money flows easily into your life. Move through the world holding this assumption firmly. Watch what happens. You will notice small shifts. A conversation goes better than expected. A financial opportunity appears where there was none before. Someone unexpectedly offers help or resources. And if you persist in that assumption, if you continue to assume abundance instead of scarcity, those small shifts will turn into life-altering changes. The mistake most people make is letting their past dictate their future. But your past is nothing more than a reflection of your previous assumptions. If you change your assumption today, you change your future tomorrow. Assumption does not work if you abandon it at the first sign of doubt. If you assume wealth for an hour and then spend the rest of the day worrying about money, you are contradicting yourself. The key is when a farmer plants a seed, he does not dig it up every day to see if it is growing. He assumes that the seed is taking root, even when nothing is visible on the surface. He trusts that in time it will become a tree. Your assumptions work the same way. Assume that wealth is already yours. Assume that your success is inevitable. Assume that you are in complete control of your financial destiny. Hold that assumption unwaveringly. Do not look at your bank account for confirmation. Do not seek outside validation. Simply know that reality must conform to what you assume. When doubt arises, and it will. Remind yourself that you are the creator of your experience. Remind yourself that your only job is to persist in your assumption, to refuse to entertain thoughts of lack or limitation. The moment you take full responsibility for your reality, your life will transform. You will no longer feel like a victim of circumstances. You will no longer wait for opportunities to come to you. You will no longer doubt whether you are meant for success. You will simply assume it, and because you assume it, it must come. This is not wishful thinking. This is not empty motivation. This is law. Your reality must conform to your assumption, just as surely as the sun must rise in the morning. So what will you assume from this moment forward? Will you continue to assume that wealth is difficult, that success is for others, that abundance is out of reach? Or will you assume that wealth is already yours, that opportunities flow effortlessly into your life, that success is your birthright? Choose wisely, because the assumption you hold today will be the life you wake up to tomorrow. And once you fully embrace this truth, you will understand no one is richer than you. You have walked through the depths of a truth so powerful that if you embrace it fully, your life will never be the same again. You have seen step by step that wealth is not something outside of you, not something you chase, not something reserved for the lucky or the privileged. It is a state of being. It is an assumption, a belief so deeply ingrained in your consciousness that reality has no choice but to conform to it. Everything you desire, wealth, success, freedom, already exists. It is not waiting for you in the future. It is waiting for you to claim it now. But most people never claim it. Most people wake up every day bound by the same old assumptions, shackled by their doubts, imprisoned by the illusion that they are victims of life. They say, I can't be rich until my situation changes. They wait for their bank account to fill before they feel abundant. They wait for a promotion before they feel successful. They wait for life to prove itself to them before they allow themselves to believe. And that is why they stay stuck, because reality does not lead, you do. Life is not something happening to you, it is something happening through you. Wealth is an inner experience first. It is a feeling before it is a number in your bank account. It is an assumption before it is a fact. And once you take hold of that feeling, once you embody it with absolute certainty, the material wealth must follow. It is law. Your reality must conform to your assumption. It always has, it always will. The question is, what have you been assuming? Have you been assuming that wealth is difficult, that success is for others, that life is unfair? If so, that is why those experiences continue to show up for you. But if you assume wealth is easy, if you assume success is natural, if you assume that everything is always working in your favor, then the world will reflect that too. Think of the most successful people in the world. They do not hope for wealth, they expect it. They do not question their success, they assume it. And because they assume it, reality molds itself around them. Now take a look at your own life. Are you making decisions from a place of abundance or from a place of lack? Are you acting as though you already have everything you desire, or are you waiting for proof? Most people cannot hold on to the feeling of wealth when their bank account says otherwise. Most people cannot persist in the assumption of success when failures appear in front of them. Most people surrender to what they see instead of what they know. But you are different. You now understand that what you see today is simply a reflection of your past assumptions. It is nothing more than a shadow, an echo, the remnants of an old mindset that no longer serves you. And just as a shadow can shift in an instant, so too can your reality if you dare to assume something new. You must hold a feeling until it becomes real. You may be asking, how long do I have to hold on to this feeling before my reality changes? The answer is simple: until it does. You must be unwavering. You must carry yourself as someone who is already rich, already successful, already abundant. Not for a day, not for a week, not until you see the first small shift, but until reality bends in your favor. There is no room for doubt, no space for hesitation. You must decide right now that wealth is yours. You must walk with the certainty that the money, the opportunities, the success, all of it is already aligned with you, waiting to appear in physical form. And as you hold on to this assumption, as you embody it so deeply that it becomes your natural state, the world will have no choice but to follow. I challenge you right now, in this very moment, make a decision. Decide that from this moment forward, you will no longer chase wealth. You will assume it. Decide that you will no longer allow external conditions to dictate your belief. Decide that no matter what the world shows you, you will walk with the mindset of someone who already has it all. And when doubts arise, and they will, you will silence them with conviction. You will remind yourself that you are not waiting for wealth to come. You are simply allowing reality to catch up to your assumption. Do you have the courage to hold on to this belief? Do you have the strength to persist, to walk in faith even when circumstances try to shake you? If you do, you will find that wealth does not come from effort alone. It comes from alignment, from certainty, from the unshakable knowing that what you assume, you receive. From this moment forward, wherever you go, whatever you do, walk into every space as if you are the richest person in the room. Not because of what you own, but because of what you know. You know that wealth is not measured in money alone. It is measured in certainty. You know that success is not about luck. It is about assumption. You know that reality is not fixed. It is fluid, bending and shaping itself according to the state of your mind. And because you know these things, you will walk differently, speak differently, think differently, and as you do, the world will bow to your assumption. This is the secret that has been hidden from most. But it is no longer hidden from you. You are now aware, you are now awake. And because of this, you will never be the same again. You do not need permission to be wealthy. You do not need validation to be successful. You do not need external proof to believe in your abundance. You only need to assume it. And the moment you do, the moment you claim your place as someone who already possesses all they desire, the moment you hold that assumption with unshakable faith, your reality will change forever. And you will understand no one is richer than you. You have been told your entire life that wealth is something you must earn, something you must struggle for, something reserved for the fortunate few who either inherited it or worked tirelessly to build it. But what if I told you that wealth is not something to be acquired, but something to be assumed. The world has conditioned you to believe that success is the result of external effort, that riches come to those who grind the hardest, who sacrifice the most, who spend years climbing the endless ladder of financial security. And yet, look around. Do you not see people working themselves to exhaustion, never escaping the cycle of financial struggle? Do you not see people with degrees, skills, and talents, yet still trapped in scarcity? And at the same time, do you not see others who seem to attract wealth effortlessly, who walk through life as if money and opportunities flow to them naturally? What separates these two kinds of people? It is not intelligence, it is not effort, it is not luck. It is assumption. Everything in life begins with belief. Everything you experience is a reflection of what you hold to be true about yourself and your circumstances. If you believe that money is difficult to acquire, you will experience a world where wealth is always out of reach. If you believe that success requires struggle, your life will be a series of endless battles. But if you believe, without hesitation, that you are wealthy, that success is your natural state, then the world must conform to that belief. The mistake most people make is assuming the opposite. They look at their bank account and assume they are broke. They look at their circumstances and assume they are struggling. They accept what is instead of declaring what will be. And in doing so, they continue to reinforce the same cycle of lack. But the truth is this: reality follows assumption. It does not precede it. If you assume that wealth is difficult, it will be difficult. If you assume that money flows to you easily, it will flow to you easily. If you assume that you are already rich, even before the physical evidence appears, then wealth will find its way into your experience. Think of the most successful people in the world. Do they hesitate when they speak? Do they walk with uncertainty? Do they question whether they deserve to be wealthy? No, they carry themselves with certainty, not because they were born rich, but because they assume wealth as their identity. They do not wake up wondering if they will succeed. They already know it. They do not walk into a room hoping to be valued. They assume their value. And because they carry that assumption, the world reflects it back to them. You must do the same. You must assume wealth before it arrives. You must see yourself as rich before the money appears. You must feel the power of success before the opportunities manifest. This is not pretending. This is not wishful thinking. This is aligning yourself with the reality you desire so that it has no choice but to materialize. The reason most people remain in financial struggle is that they assume struggle as their identity. They reinforce it every day through their thoughts, words, and actions. They check their bank accounts and feel anxiety. They make financial decisions based on fear. They repeat phrases like, "I can't afford that," or "money is tight right now." And what happens? Their world reflects those assumptions back to them. If you constantly affirm lack, you will continue to experience lack. If you constantly affirm struggle, struggle will meet you at every turn. But what if you changed your assumption? What if instead of saying, "I can't afford that," you said, "Wealth flows to me in expected and unexpected ways"? What if instead of feeling anxiety about your finances, you carried the confidence of someone who already possesses everything they need? What if instead of focusing on what you lack, you focused on the abundance that already exists in your life? If you do this, if you change your assumptions, you will change your entire reality. Assuming wealth does not mean sitting back and doing nothing. It does not mean pretending or deceiving yourself. It means aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with the reality you desire. When you assume wealth, you walk with confidence. You no longer carry the posture of someone struggling. You move with the energy of success, and others notice. Make decisions from abundance. You do not hoard or fear spending. You invest wisely because you know that wealth flows freely to you. Speak differently. Your words reflect certainty, not doubt. You no longer say, I hope, or I wish. You say, I know and I expect. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. Because you expect wealth, you recognize opportunities that others overlook. The question with our own life, and it is the question of where we sit, attract people of value. Like energy attracts like energy. When you assume success, successful people are drawn to you. At first, the changes may be subtle. A small financial breakthrough, an unexpected opportunity, a shift in how people treat you. But as you persist in assuming wealth, these small changes will multiply. Before you know it, you will look around and realize that your external world has transformed. The things you once chased will now chase you. The success you once doubted will be undeniable. The wealth you once dreamed of will be yours. Not because you worked harder, but because you became the person who already had it. And once you understand this truth, once you see the power of assumption at work in your life, you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that no one is richer than you. You have been conditioned to believe that wealth is something external, something separate from you, something you must chase, struggle for, and hope to attain someday. This belief has kept you trapped, always looking outside yourself for proof that you are getting closer to financial success. But what if you have been looking in the wrong place? What if wealth is not something you acquire, but something you assume? The truth is, wealth is not a product of effort alone. It is not reserved for those who work the hardest, for those who struggle the most, or for those who sacrifice their happiness in the hope of one day achieving financial security. Wealth is a state of mind, a feeling, an assumption that, once fully embraced, shapes reality in ways you cannot yet comprehend. The world does not give you what you wish for. It gives you what you believe you already are. You do not wait for wealth to appear before feeling rich. You feel rich first, and then wealth appears. Your assumptions shape your experiences. If you assume that money is scarce, if you assume that success is difficult, if you assume that you must suffer before you can enjoy abundance, then that is exactly what life will reflect back to you. It is not the economy, it is not your job, it is not your background. These are only, if you continue to look at your current circumstances and let them dictate what you believe about yourself, you will remain stuck in the same cycle. But the moment you assume wealth as your natural state, the moment you stop waiting for proof and instead live as though abundance is already yours, everything begins to shift. The wealthiest people in the world do not spend their days doubting their success. They do not walk into a room questioning whether they belong there. They do not wake up in the morning and wonder if they will make money today. They assume wealth. They expect success. They move through life with an unshakable certainty that money flows to them, that opportunities seek them out, that their value is recognized and rewarded. And because they assume it, reality has no choice but to match that assumption. Most people, however, do the exact opposite. They assume struggle. They assume lack. They assume that money is always slipping through their fingers, that success is for others, that they are destined to work endlessly just to survive. And so, no matter how hard they work, no matter how many opportunities come their way, they remain in the same cycle. Their assumption of scarcity shapes their reality, making it nearly impossible for them to break free. Your subconscious mind does not question what you believe. It simply accepts it as truth and rearranges reality to match. If you wake up every day assuming that money is difficult to make, your subconscious will ensure that you experience difficulty in making money. If you assume that opportunities are rare, your subconscious will make sure you overlook the very opportunities that could change your life. If you assume that wealth is already yours, your subconscious will guide you to the people, the circumstances, and the actions that align with that assumption. This is not magic. This is how reality works. Most people try to change their circumstances without changing their assumptions, and this is why they fail. They get a better job, but they still assume that financial security is fragile, so something always happens. A sudden expense, a lost opportunity, an unexpected setback that keeps them feeling broke. They start a business, but they assume that success is unpredictable, so their efforts are scattered, their decisions are uncertain, and their results reflect that instability. They receive a windfall of money, but because they still assume that wealth is temporary, they find ways to lose it just as quickly as they gained it. Their outer reality can only be as stable as their inner world. And if their assumptions do not shift, nothing they do will create lasting change. You must assume wealth before it appears. You must embody the feeling of financial freedom now, not later. You must walk, talk, think, and act as though you are already rich, as though success is already yours, as though abundance is your natural state. Not because you are pretending, not because you are fooling yourself, but because you are reprogramming your subconscious to accept wealth as inevitable. And once it accepts that assumption, reality must conform. This is where most people falter. They say, but I don't have the money yet. How can I feel rich when my bank account says otherwise? But that is precisely why they stay broke. Because they allow their current circumstances to dictate their future assumptions. They are waiting for proof before they believe, but belief must come first. Your bank account is only a reflection of if you continue to assume lack, your future will be a repetition of your past. But if you assume wealth, if you truly believe in it, feel it, and embody it, then your external world will have no choice but to shift. This is why the rich get richer and the poor get poor. It is not about fairness, and it is not about luck. It is about assumption. Those who are wealthy assume that wealth is their natural state, and so they continue to attract more of it. Those who are struggling assume that struggle is normal, and so they continue to experience struggle. This is why so many lottery winners lose their money within a few years, because they never assumed themselves to be wealthy in the first place. They had money, but their subconscious still held on to the assumption of lack, and so they unconsciously made decisions that returned them to the life they had always known. If you want lasting wealth, you must change what you assume to be true about yourself. Stop waiting for circumstances to change before you feel abundant. Stop looking at what is and using it as an excuse for why you cannot believe in more. Stop allowing the past to define the future. Assume wealth now. Decide that it is already yours. Move through life as someone who knows without a doubt that they are financially free, that they are successful, that they are worthy of abundance. Do not look at your bank account and say, I am broke. Look at your life and say, I am rich in ways I cannot yet see, and soon that wealth will be visible to everyone. Do not wake up dreading your financial situation. Wake up with the certainty that money is flowing to you, that opportunities are on their way, that everything you desire is already in motion. The more you hold on to this assumption, the more evidence you will begin to see a new opportunity here, an unexpected financial breakthrough there, small shifts that when compounded over time lead to massive transformation. Most people will not do this. Most people will continue to believe in their limitations because they have been taught that reality is fixed. But those who understand the truth, those who understand that assumption creates reality, will rise above their circumstances and step into a life of wealth, ease, and abundance. Will you be one of them? Will you dare to assume that you are already rich? Will you let go of the belief that money is something you must fight for, and instead embrace the truth that wealth is something you become? The choice is yours. But know this, whatever you assume, life will prove you right. If you assume struggle, you will struggle. If you assume success, you will succeed. If you assume wealth, you will become wealthy. This is not a theory, this is law. And the moment you claim it as your own, you will understand